Thanks for being here. So, as I was introduced, my name is Ariane, and I'm going to tell you, I want to bring this back to our humanity. We've been talking a lot about biodiversity, a lot about ecosystems, and to me, this is first and foremost a human story. This starts off as my story. So, as you guys were told, I grew up in West Africa, and here I am with my brother. I had just been kidnapped by a bunch of masks. We were at a ceremony, and my parents got me back for $10. So now you know I'm worth $10. My project is worth a little bit more than that. Why do I want to bring this back to the humanity? I'm originally an anthropologist with also an MPH, a Master's in Public Health. And I started off my career first as a primatologist. I worked with chimpanzees in Uganda. And I realized that before trying to save chimpanzees in forests, we had to help people, real actual people, survive in their ecosystems if we wanted to actually save nature. And we're all connected. And that's that human connection that I want to bring us back to. So I left my work in primatology and I started a humanitarian development organization in Niger after conducting research in what's called the Azawak region. When I traveled to the Azawak region of Niger, where I had not grown up, I found that children, such as Sutut and Malik, traveled 50 kilometers a day to find water. One child out of two was dying of thirst, literally. And I think those are statistics that we can't even possibly imagine. I have 3 kids. That means that at least one of my 3 children would be dead by now. I want us to think about that reality when we just think about ecosystems and biomass and carbon credits. Because while I am here to propose a project that would potentially provide carbon credits, that would potentially interest investors because there is an economic benefit, it's about the people and that's why I'm here. I work in an area of West Africa where it used to be the best pastoral region of all of West Africa, just 40 years ago. I'm 44 years old, which means that in my lifetime, it went from this region to having 5 months of rain to not even 1 month of rain today. Ecosystems have been completely wiped out by this climate change. Lives have been completely devastated. So when we think about, okay, this is Niger, who cares about Niger? Probably many of you don't even know where to locate Niger on a map we had that nice flyover video. But we are all connected. Let's not forget. So I work in a region where, because of this devastation from climate change, there has been a great rise in terrorism. There has been a great rise in climate migration. I work with people that women leave 8 to 9 months out of the year to Nigeria, to Chad, to look for economic opportunity. They end up prostituting themselves most of the time. I work with men who also they used to have 300 head of cattle. Today they have none. So they become herders for other people far away. So they leave. So I work with villages where it's just run by children. So my 14-year-old child, if he were living in one of these villages, would be responsible for his little brother and sister, waiting desperately for his parents to come back and hoping that they would come back in time to bring enough food and livelihood to live. So again, it's all about also the humanity. So when I witness this, I work in a part of the world where nobody else is interested in working in this area because I work with minority indigenous groups, indigenous populations that people consider too difficult to work with. Our initial work is drilling boreholes. Drilling a borehole in this area, one borehole may cost, 250,000 euros, 500,000 euros. People are like, oh my goodness, that's so much. Most of you in this room would hopefully not think that way. That helps about 30,000 people. Well, anyways, so I forgot what I was saying. But anyway, so in 2005, that's where I started. I started working in this area because nobody else was doing anything to help. And so we started drilling boreholes. We started helping build schools because before you bring water, kids can't go to school because they spend every day looking for water, 14 hours. I mean, yeah, more than 12 hours a day sometimes. It's really quite crazy. We have a mobile clinic. But now I was thinking, these people still spend most of their year migrating because they've lost their pastures, because they've lost their forests, because there are no more lakes and watersheds for their animals. So building boreholes, building clinics, building schools really is a very short-term impact if we don't start restoring ecosystems and landscapes. And so today, that's what I'm launching. That's what we're launching because we understand that is the only sustainable solution to avoid climate migration, to avoid also kids joining jihadi extremist groups, to avoid people from dying, right, quite literally, and to bring back the biodiversity that is the potential there. Oh, so here I was just, this is, again, these are women leaving for their migration to Nigeria. This is a young girl who traveled 20 kilometers round trip to go get water at one of our boreholes. So right now, we're looking at nature-based solutions to help restore landscapes. A lot of projects focus on reforestation or on certain niche. I like to look at things holistically, and I would like to look at how to restore all the different ecosystems that exist there together, because I figure that they all interact. And so looking at watersheds, looking at pasture lands, and looking at forests all together in a holistic model, and bringing techniques that are quite simple sometimes to help restore all these ecosystems so that watersheds, while today, because it rains so little, only might last 1 month, well, by restoring them, they could last 6 to 7 to almost year-round in some cases, to bring back the pasture lands so that people, while they may not have 300 heads of cattle, and that may not even be desirable, but they can have some livestock, bringing back forests, through and agroforestry so that it can bring back the economy, the local economy, so that women don't have to migrate and men don't have to migrate, so that villages are not left with just children to raise the little children. So right now we're launching a pilot project of 53 communities, so 150,000 people, over 40,000 hectares. And we're requesting $1,400,000 in funding to launch this project. Now, people come to me and they say, hey, Ariane, what makes you think that you can do this? You don't have any expertise in doing this. Well, I can say back in 2005, I had never built a borehole. I had never built a school. I was a researcher. I was an anthropologist. What I do know is how to work with people. The people that I talk to you about, they're not just random stakeholders, even though I wrote that down here. They're my friends, they're my family. I grew up in Niger. I know how to listen to them. I know how to listen to what they need. And I know how to work with experts that know how to do this work. And I totally, when I started in 2005, people didn't believe that I could work in an area of Africa where nobody else was working, where, well, I'm not gonna name organizations, where big organizations did not wanna go. Because you can't work with minority populations, because you can't work in the hardest hit places of the world by climate change. It's too expensive, it's too hard, it's impossible. I've been there for 17 years. I believe it's possible. And I know I can find people to believe that landscape restoration in the hardest hit parts of the world, not only is it possible, it's necessary. And again, it's not just about saving lives there. It's about thinking about, do we want to help limit climate migration? Do we prefer to put billions of dollars in anti-terrorism efforts, or do we want to limit poverty locally to prevent people from joining jihadi groups? How do we want to think about these things? Do we want to think about these issues holistically? So we're working with partners for our MRV. We have a partner, Soil Watch, who's also here. Doesn't seem to be here right now in this room, but at the NOAA conference. And we also will be conducting traditional M&E because it's also about the people. So seeing not only is this creating additional biomass for carbon credits, for so that we can sell carbon credits that can come back to the communities and also go to our investors, but how is this affecting people's lives? Is it preventing climate migration? Are they growing their local economy? Are they having food to eat? Are children going to school? Are they getting access to health care? So that is also part of our monitoring system. And I want to end my presentation with the story of Dubara. I didn't put this for the shock effect. Dubara means hope in the Fulani language of the people I work with. And Dubara, when I met him, he had what's called NOMA. I don't know if you've heard. It's a gangrene of the mouth that doesn't exist here in Europe anymore. But he's his parents come from the Wadabe tribe, the Wadabe Fulani, and they, because of climate change, became migrant workers. And as I said, many migrant workers end up prostituting themselves. So they ended up catching HIV. And so he was born with HIV. And because he lives in a world where there's no clean water, where in fact washing yourself, you may wash yourself once out of the year if you're lucky. I work in most people are Muslim and they do their ablutions with sand. That's how little water there is. And so he caught NOMA, and 99% of children with NOMA pass away. Well, I met Dubara, and I just wrote his story on Instagram and on Facebook. I didn't ask for a single penny. And overnight, I collected 5,000 euros without asking for anything. And he was taken. He was an orphan, and he was adopted by an American missionary family living in Niamey, and he was gotten help, and now he has a very full life, and he is the hope of his community today, and he is the hope that I have been bringing with the project, or not. Let me be more humble. That we've been hoping to bring to the communities. That we've been working with our communities, and that with the landscape restoration project that we're launching, that we continue to bring to our communities and to our participation in this global Earth towards, increasing biodiversity and climate mitigation strategies. Thank you very much.